right there. Hey, data lovers, and welcome to another I Love Data Fridays here at the International Data Evaluation Center on the campuses of The Ohio State University. So welcome everybody to another I Love Data Fridays. I'm so glad that you could join everyone today. So hey, what are we talking about today? So the title of our I Love Data Fridays is that we are going to be looking at our recommended student, the growth that our recommended students make after reading recovery, and then we're going to look at how to make a multi-year OS total score growth chart. So hey, who's talking data to you today? Well, you've got me, Jeff Breimer-Bashore, Director of IT and Operations, and thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. Glad to have you. So, just so you know, today, let me go to my next screen. Let me talk about our agenda. So, today's agenda, as I said earlier, we are going to look at a table here real soon. We're going to look at some data. It's going to show some data about the growth that recommended students make after reading recovery, and we're going to look at it in different instruction scenarios. So, by whether they're getting group instruction or individual instruction. And then we're going to move on to the second part of this I Love Data Fridays, and we're going to look how to make an OS total score chart that spans multiple years and compares multiple groups of students in those years. And then, as always, I will have a Q&A session at the end, and if you look at the bottom of my slide there, if you go to that web address and plug in that event code R114. So just if you go over to www.slido.com, enter event code R114, you can type your questions to me up there, and I will see them on my little screen right here. They will pop up all right. So I'll be able to see them. You can certainly submit questions ahead of time before I get to the end, but I am just going to kind of go through the presentation and then hit the questions at the end. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's get talking a little data. All right, so here we go. So ladies and gentlemen, a little background about this chart. This chart I've actually made as a part of a data request from a teacher leader a couple days ago, and she was getting ready to go talk to some school administrators about the reading recovery implementation in that school district. And I think some questions were coming up, what are reading recovery teachers doing outside of reading recovery? What are they doing with students after they leave reading recovery? So we kind of got this idea to look at the text level gains that recommended children make after they leave reading recovery. And we look at it by different types of instruction methods. And we're looking at data from the 2016-17 school year. And you'll see here in this first column, we have our different types of instructions. First, we are looking at kids who didn't get any instruction after they left reading recovery. So they were recommended for something else, but didn't receive any other literacy instruction after they left reading recovery. Then we're looking at kids who got group instruction, and then children who got individual instruction. Now, for the group instruction and the individual instruction, I've broken it down by two subcategories, whether the intervention or the instruction was delivered by a non-reading recovery teacher or whether it was delivered actually by the reading recovery teacher herself. Now, this next column, the N, this is the number of students that were included in each of these categories. And then finally, our last column is the text level gain that the students made in each of those categories. So you can see that if a student, after leaving reading recovery, after having a recommended program, if they don't receive any literacy instruction at all, in general, from when they left reading recovery to the end of the school year, they make about 2.1 text level gains. Now, so that's just if you kind of have the child on their own, not receiving any literacy instruction. I don't know what other supporting services they're receiving, but they're not getting any other literacy instruction. Now, so let's move down to our group instruction and our individual instruction. And I think you can see in both scenarios when we look at whenever the individual instruction or group instruction is delivered by the reading recovery teacher, our reading recovery teachers are fostering that larger growth. With the group instruction, we see that our reading recovery teachers are getting that growth of 3.3 text levels on average. And when we get down to individual instruction, we see that the teachers are fostering about 3.6 text levels of growth compared to our 2 text, oh, where'd my mouse go? There it is, 2 text levels of growth and 2.7 text level growth from non-reading recovery teacher. So I think you can say in general that, reading recovery teachers are still quite effective at working with their recommended students, even outside of reading recovery. They foster the most amount of growth when it comes to getting literacy instruction. In general, when the teachers are doing it one-on-one with the students, they get more growth, but still, even if a reading recovery teacher is doing something in group instruction, that students in the group instruction, we're still seeing over 3 levels of text growth. So still pretty good there. So I just wanted to share with you all. I think it can make a good conversation piece with school officials if they're, what can my reading recovery teachers do outside of reading recovery, or what effect do they have on students after they leave reading recovery, and probably other scenarios I haven't thought of. All right, so let's move on.
Data Friday!
We're going to move on to our next section of I Love Data Fridays here. And folks, this is where we're going to get our hands a little dirty. So I made, talking about making what's called an OS total score chart that spans multiple years and shows multiple, that compares multiple types of students. Now, let me see if I can pull up my example of what we are going to shoot for. Oh, darn it. All right, hold on. Give me 1 second, folks. I should have had this up before I even started the video, so now I got to download it from our website. My example. I'm going to stall. Here we go. Publications. I'm working on it here because I want to show you what we're shooting for so you have an idea of what I am talking about here. I really should have stuck this on my slide. This was poor planning on my part. All right, here we go. I'm getting that. Almost there, everybody. Just stick with me. I'm getting it. All right, here we go. Opening it up. Come on, Excel. Work faster. All right, there we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to try and produce a chart today that looks something like this chart on my screen right now. Move this down. See if I can get a little more real estate here. Sorry if I keep flipping windows around. There we go. So what we have on our screen here are some OS total score growth bars. They're from year-end fall to year-end growth. And there's 2 bars for each year in this example. So we've got growth for some reading recovery students and growth for our tested, not instructed students. And our reading recovery students have the black bars. Our tested, not instructed students are the gray bars. And as you can see, we have 3 different years that we are going to do a comparison on. So let me show you how to do this. Let me close this. So let's start the presentation back up here. Uh-oh, things are not cooperating. Hey, there we go. All right. So what we are going to need is Microsoft Excel, along with your table 3.7, and this can be from a site report or from a school district report. Either one will work, but we need it for multiple years, okay? And so from table 3.7, we are going to, for this example, I'm just going to use data for our discontinued reading recovery students and compare them to some tested, not instructed students. And I want to say this before we get into it, just like my other examples, there's no easy button that is going to make this chart. We have to manipulate Excel to get it to do what we want. So a lot of what I'm going to be doing today, when I initially set up the spreadsheet and everything, it may not make sense, but I will do a little review at the end of why I have done things the way they are. But it's because essentially I have to manipulate Excel to get it to do what I want. All right, so let's move into it. Let me get my blank spreadsheet out over here. start with a blank spreadsheet. I'm going to put that on the right side of the screen. And I have some data already prepared for me. I've got 3 years of tables, some sample data from table 3.7 for 3 different school years. So I've got 2014, 15, 15, 16, and 16, 17. Now, let me do one more little bit of preparation here. So I've got a little cheat sheet on the other screen that you can't see, so I can make sure I do this right for everybody. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prep our spreadsheet a little bit to get it ready to do our charting and our data. And I think it might be easier for me to explain after I have the chart up why I am designing the table here in the spreadsheet as I am doing. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, since I know we're going to be using 3 school years, I'm going to type in some school years here, 2014, 2015. I'm going to type that in cell A2. I'm actually going to skip down 2 cells. I'm going to go to cell A4. I'm going to type in 2015-16. Once again, I'm going to skip down 2 cells. And then I'm going to type in 2016-17. All right, there we go. So I've got those in. I'm going to come over here to column B. I'm going to go to B2. And I'm just simply going to type RR, for reading recovery. Hit enter. I'm going to type TNI for our tested, not instructed. Guess what? I'm going to do that again. I'm going to type RR and TNI in the next 2 cells. And then one more time, I'm going to go RR and TNI, just like that. So we're going to set that up like that. Now, here comes our first tricky part. I am going to come to cell A2, and I am going to select cells A2 and A3, just like that. All right? I've selected them like that. Now, I'm going to make my Excel spreadsheet just a little wired because it's hidden one of the buttons I need. Where are you, button? There it is. So I've got cell A2 and A3 selected. And now I am going to hit this merge and center button. All right, so I'm going to hit merge and center. And what it does is it's merged my cells 2 and 3 together. They've made them one cell. And it's kind of put the 2014-15 down at the bottom of the cell there. And that's fine. That's what I want it to do. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select cells 4 and 5. And I'm going to come back over and I'm going to merge and center. Whap. All right. Now I'm going to select cells 6 and 7. Going to come back over to merge and center. Click that. Boom. All right. Excellent. Good. We're done. Now I'm going to move this back over once again. I think I'm good. There we go. All right. I'm still not ready to make our chart yet. I've got to do a few preparations of our spreadsheet here. And I'm going to click in cell C1, and I am going to type fall-RR, and then fall-year end. I'm just doing this so later when I make the chart, when I have to remove some things from the chart, I know what I'm removing, and it may make sense. It's going to make a little more sense once I get the chart up for you. All right, now I'm going to go to cell E1, and actually this time I'm going to type fall-TNI, and then I'm going to type fall-year end. All right, so there we go. We have our spreadsheet prepped and ready to go, and now we can actually start entering data and make our chart. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my table 3.7. And I'm going to get the fall data for my discontinued students, which is in that first row right here in the mean column. So that's what, 357.7, 357.7. I'm going to type that in there. And then I'm going to get the year-end data for the discontinued students. And that's 531.1. Now I'm going to get my fall scores for... Well, I tell you what, before I do tested not instructed, I am going to finish off my reading recovery data. So I'm going to move down to my 2015-16 school year and get the fall data for that. So there is a 3 70. And I'm typing that in cell C4. All right. And now let's get the year-end data. 534 point, oops, wrong cell. In cell D4, 534.7. All right, let me get this last reading recovery data for 1617. Come down here. Let's see, that's a 354.3, 4.3, and then I come over here, get the year-end data. That's a 516.3, 516.3. Okay, we've got our reading recovery data entered. Now I'm going to do our tested, not instructed. Now, your first inclination is like, Jeff, you're probably going to type it next to here. But no, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to type it in cell E3. All right, and I'm going to explain why I'm typing it in cell E3 later. Just for right now, follow along with me. This is where we want to type it in, cell E3. So let's get 1415 data for our tested, not instructed students. All right, so 371.9, 371.9, and 490.1, 490.1. Okay, let's go to our 1516 data. Let's see, and that's a 415.7 and a 511.14. I'm sorry, 511.4. Then our last year, oh, got to scroll this down just slightly. There we go, 380.3. And a 475.0, 475.0. So I want everyone to notice how these scores are staggered, okay? And this is on purpose. All right, so we've staggered the scores like that. Okay, we've got our data entered. We've got our chart or our data table all laid out. Now we can start working on our chart. Now I'm going to bring this up to a full screen. And as with all charts, we are going to first highlight the data we are all going to use. So I've highlighted all my data. I'm going to come over to our Insert tab. And I'm going to come over to our line chart options. And ladies and gentlemen, I am going to select this line chart that says the title of Line with Markers. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And it's made this chart. And you're probably thinking, oh, Jeff, geez, that doesn't look like anything like the chart that you made before, had up on the screen earlier. Well, of course it doesn't, because it doesn't, like I said, there's no magic button that's going to make the chart for us. So we have to manipulate Excel to get it to do what we want. So, but we have to start here. So what we're going to do first is now I am going to, I'm just going to click on this blue dot right here, and I'm actually going to take my right mouse button and click on it. If you're a Mac, it would be a 2-finger click. And I'm going to use Change Series Type. And it should bring up a window that looks like this. And I am going to tell it to put the last 2 items on the screen on the secondary. I'm going to check this secondary axis. And then I'm going to click OK. And what it means is that these yellow and gray dots, instead of using their scale being plotted following the scale on the left side here, which is referred to as the primary axis, it plots them along a scale on this secondary axis on the right-hand side. Right now, the scales are exactly the same, so the dots really didn't move all that much. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to now click on a blue dot with left mouse click, single click. I'm going to come over to, if you haven't clicked on the Design tab, you can, oops, what did I do? There we go. Click on the Design tab. I'm going to come over to Add Chart Element, Up and Down Bars, and I'm going to select to add an up and down bar. All right, so to add an up and down bar between our blue and our orange dots. Okay, now, I am... Uh-oh, someone's wanting my attention from the IDEC crew. I better let them know that I'm right in the middle of a video. Hold on, folks, just a second. Give me 1 second here. I'm doing a video. Doing a video. All right, I've told Dwayne I'm doing a video. All right, so now I'm gonna come and right click. Oh, see, he responded. Whoop. So I am going to right click on this bar, or a 2-finger mouse click if you're a Mac user, and I'm going to come into the fill button and I'm gonna fill it with a black color. So there we go. Now I'm gonna come over to this gray dot right here. I clicked on the gray dot. I'm gonna move my mouse back up to the add element button. Come on. And then I'm gonna come say up. I'm gonna add up down bars again to this one. I'm going to right click, 2-finger click if you're a Mac, but if you're a PC, I'm gonna right click and go to fill. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna make this a gray color. There we go. Okay, so that's starting to look like our chart, right? All right, now I'm gonna click down here. I'm gonna click on the legend and I'm gonna delete this legend because it's no longer useful. There we go. Now, I'm gonna zoom in slightly here because I'm having trouble seeing these dots. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. We gotta remove our little marker dots here. We don't want them in our chart. So I'm gonna come over to our marker dot. I'm gonna try to click, come on, click. Nope, not letting me. All right, let's start with the yellow. I'm gonna start with the yellow dot because that was easier to click. I'm gonna come over to the yellow dot, and what am I gonna click over here? Let's see, I am going to click up. I'm gonna format it, and I am going to select marker, because that's what those are, they're markers. I'm gonna come down to marker options, and under here I'm gonna say none. I don't want any markers. So you see, it's gone. All right, let's do that to the yellow. Yellow, marker, marker options, none, gone. All right, now let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more, and there we go. I bet I can get that blue one now. There we go, I got that blue one. All right, marker, marker options, and none. Click on the gray ones, marker, marker options, none. There we go, markers are gone. Close that up. Let's zoom back out. Okay, so now I'm gonna fix our scale a little bit. We got a lot of empty space at the bottom. Now, remember, our black bars are plotted along this scale on the left-hand side, and our gray bars are plotted on our scale along the left-hand side. So we will have to update the scale on both sides, and we will have to make sure that they actually both have the same range. Otherwise, your people who see this chart may not realize what's going on. So I am going to right-click on my axis here. If you're a Mac, it's a 2-finger click. I'm going to, come on. Actually, I'm going to single click, then right click. I am going to format the axis. And I'm going to change, I'm going to go to the bounds right here. I'm going to change the lower bound to 350. I'm going to change the upper bound to 570. Notice how the black bars are changing, but my gray ones didn't change because my black bars are using the right-hand side as their scale. All right. There we go. That's changed. I'm going to change this one so it matches. Single click, then a right click or a 2-finger click if you're a Mac user. Format axis. Set that to 350 in the minimum and 570 at the maximum. There we go. Both sides are now using the same scale, so bars all mean the same thing. Okay. Good. We are almost there. So a couple more steps, folks, and then we're almost done, and I'm going to explain a few things. So first, I'm actually going to come and I'm going to click on this right-hand axis. I've just single-clicked it with my mouse button, and I'm going to hit the delete button. It doesn't change the axis. It just deletes it off the chart and saves us a little space. So that's why it's equally important that we made sure the axes were equal on both sides. Okay. All right, the next thing I'm going to do, all right, we're real close. Oops, I keep messing with things there. All right, I am going to click on my home tab here, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to just click on the chart so I select it all. I'm going to come up and I'm going to change the font color inside my chart to black instead of gray so we can actually see it. And then I'm going to increase the font size to 14. so it's a little more readable. There we go. All right. That is starting to look like the chart I showed you guys earlier as my example. So put in a title OS total score growth chart by school year and student group. All right, boom. Okay. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how we make the chart. And what kind of makes it do what it... So some things I want to point out. When we did the merging of the cells like this, notice how for each set of merged cells we have an RR and a TNI. So what that tells Excel is that it needs to make this bottom legend look like this, that 1415 is supposed to be grouped with this first RR and TNI. In fact, we can be tricky, and if I change that to the word students, notice how that gets updated to students down there, okay? So that is why we merged the cells as we did, so we could get that nice grouping by school year. The reason why I staggered the numbers, like you see that I have them staggered here, like these ones are offset by one cell down, is that if we were to have put these numbers back up, shifted them one cell up, we wouldn't have been able to color our bars a different color. We wouldn't have been able to assign them to a different axis and color them a different color. They would have looked the same and people would have been confused with what you were trying to show. So that's why I have them shifted down. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, a perfect example of how we had to manipulate Excel to get it to do what we wanted to do. So, hey folks, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That is our OS total score growth chart by school year and student group. Now, you're probably like, oh, Jeff, I was trying to follow along and I just couldn't do it. That was just, a crazy amount of work. Couldn't you have just made it a slightly easier for us? And I think maybe I have. So I have put a template of the Excel file that I used today up on our website. So if you go over to our website, click on Publications. Come on, Publications. Go, Publications, go. It's thinking. There we go. And if you go to the I Love Data Friday section and you go down to November 2017, you will see that I have put up there an Excel file that says multi-year OS total score chart with multiple student categories. If you click on it, it'll download. If you open it, you will see that it has... I have already set up all of the charts for you and done all the formatting. And all you have to do is come in here and change your data to whatever your data is. And the chart will update. So you can use that. And this should work on both the PC and Mac platform. If it doesn't work on the Mac platform, just send us an email at the help desk and we can try to see if we can do something for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the data fun, but I'm going to open it up for our question and answer section. So if you're not over on Slido.com, head on over there and enter in the code 114. I am going to bring up my web browser with my Slido questions, if it's somewhere. There we go. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, hit me with your questions if you have questions. I will wait here patiently for a little bit. All right, I'm not seeing any questions there, but we will give it a few more seconds just to make sure. I'll give it 30 more seconds for people to type in some questions. All right, I'm not seeing any rolling in here. We'll give it a little more time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, I am not seeing any questions, so let's bring up my closing screen here for I Love Data Fridays. No, not the ending screen. Here we go. Oh, gotta start the music. Where's my music? All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I will say thank you once again for watching another I Love Data Fridays here at the International Data Evaluation Center. Listen, if you're going to be in Michigan next week, I will be too, up at Oakland University for the annual Reading Recovery conference up there, so I hope to see you. And ladies and gentlemen, we will talk data to you later.